Hello, FPL managers! At last, the international break is almost over. Welcome to another episode of the FPL Optimized podcast. This is episode number 105. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. Sertalp, how are you doing and how did you survive the international break?
I'm doing fine. I survived the international break, but to be completely honest, I actually enjoyed the international break a bit. Even though my kid was sick, and so I didn't actually have too much time to look at FPL the first week. And this week, I was like, after a 1 week break, I was not feeling like, okay, I need to build a wildcard team and then, make
Hmm.
decisions. I craved FPL a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, I'm just dreading making decisions. How was your
Um,
international break?
yeah, I struggled, man. I missed FPL to be honest. It's really it's part of the weekend. I must say, just to enjoy watching some Premier League games, and I was really missing it. And also maybe because the international break wasn't too good for the Dutch national team, so
Mm.
that didn't help. But no, I missed the Premier League. I missed FPL, and I'm happy that it will be back next weekend. Yeah, but at the
I
same
did.
time, I didn't think too much about it in terms of what to do with my team. I decided to take a little bit of a break,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I'm happy that it's coming back and that we're doing the podcast again and prepare for the weekend.
So, did you lose your games or the
Uh,
Dutch team?
we we had a draw in the first one. That was away to Hungary. We're actually, I think, we were better. The Dutch national team was better, but we were behind 1-0, and we just managed to equalize towards the end. And Virgil got a red card. That doesn't happen too often.
Mm-hmm.
Two times yellow. So we missed the second game, which is actually good news for anyone who owns him because he was able to go back earlier to Liverpool. So that's nice for him. He took a little bit of a break. But then the second game we played against Germany, and yeah, Germany was just much better. So we
Mm.
lost 1-0, but we didn't have a chance, to be honest. So
Okay.
that was a mess. But anyway, talking about FPL, I think we have quite some things to discuss today
Yeah.
as you have your wild card active, and probably there are some more people who have that, who push the button. So we'll definitely talk a lot about that. But of course, before we do that, let's take a quick look at how game week 7 went for us.
I finished game week 7 with 74 points. The first time I had more points than you did with 65. So
Congratulations.
I'm,
Yes.
thank you, very happy. And this is my first green arrow of the season.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
And quite a
See,
big green one, I guess.
yeah, it was a good one, but it
Yeah.
was overdue. So I enjoyed it though. Um,
Yeah.
well, captaincy, in terms of captaincy, I captained Saka, and he got lots of points. Even though like Haaland, I think had more projected points.
Mm.
So Haaland blanking helped me a lot actually with the green arrow,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Rest of the team actually did pretty well. I mean, I finally got points from Martinez, clean sheet, and some save bonus. I think that was nice. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, rest of the team actually looked nice too, but mostly captaincy and Martinez, to be
Yeah.
completely honest.
Yeah.
How was your game week?
Well, not too bad either, even though I lost against you. But I think with 65 points, I can't complain. Especially as I captained Haaland, which didn't work. But then the rest of the team delivered the points. I did have Saka, so even though I didn't captain him, just the 16 points from him still really helped. And then some other players contributing like Trent, Mabumo, Johnson, Havertz. So yeah, game week rank of 760k, not too bad, and now an OR of 45k. So I'm still pretty happy. And besides that, I also think the team still looks quite good for the next weeks. So that's also why I didn't activate my wild card yet.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you push the button already?
I made transfers, so I will certainly activate my wildcard. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
committed to to
Well,
the wildcard.
don't forget to activate it then.
Yeah, I mean that could be another story, right? Like I can
That
start from
happens
10 million,
sometimes.
and then
Yeah,
it does.
that
It does.
happens. Yeah. All right. Well, let's start looking forward. And we have some exciting news. As we mentioned it before, we wanted to bring the fixture ticker back. And guess what? Today we have it. So let's take a look at the good old fixture ticker.
Yeah, Fixture Ticker is back, and just for people who are seeing this for the first time or hearing about it for the first time, we follow certain commercial FPL projection models and take their averages, and
Hmm.
then for every team, defensive and offensive, we take the averages. For defensive, we get the average for the goalkeeper and defenders, for offense, midfielder, and forwards, and then we
Yeah.
use it as a measure of how good the fixtures are.
Yeah.
We look at the next 6 game weeks, and I will go from best to worst. So at the top, we have Manchester City. They have 5 good fixtures out of 6. They are playing against Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, and Spurs. So all of these fixtures are marked as good, meaning that they are making into the top 10 percentile in terms of how good the fixture is,
Hmm.
across all teams and all fixtures, I should say. And in the second rank, we have Liverpool. Their good fixtures are offensively. There, it's a good fixture against Chelsea this week, and also both defensively and offensively. Brighton in game week 10, Aston Villa in game week 11, and Southampton in game week 12 are good fixtures. Arsenal is at the third place, but actually they have pretty tough fixtures, in the
Yeah.
close horizon. I mean, they have only 2 good fixtures: game week 12 against Nottingham Forest and game week 13 against West Ham. Both of them
Yeah.
are at the end of the horizon. So even though they are, ahead of some of the other teams here, I mean, it's not good for the close term or short term.
Yeah.
In the fourth rank, we have Spurs. Their good fixture is in game week 11 against Ipswich. And then, right after, it is just funny, they have the worst fixture against City, and it's away.
Mhm.
So it
Yeah.
might be a little bit tricky. But then they also have Fulham game in game week 13. And offensively, that's also a good fixture too. So we will see about this, but this is the reason why models want to bring Son, and captain him in game week 11 and then in game week 13.
Yeah.
And then we have Manchester United in the fifth place. Their good fixtures are against Leicester in game week 11 defensively, and then game week 13 against Everton, again defensively. Then we have Newcastle. Then comes Fulham, Chelsea, Brentford, and Nottingham Forest. Any comments on the fixture ticker, Bas?
No, I'm happy that the chart is back because I think it's a good introduction to, before we look at the optimal team. I think it gives some context. Yeah, the top 3 teams at the top, so it doesn't maybe surprise. I think that's, we need to have good coverage in our FPL teams of City, Liverpool, Arsenal. Something that we don't see in this chart, but that we need to consider is the Champions League schedule, which is
Mm-hmm.
also, there's a busy period coming up. And I think the difficulty varies a little bit per team. I think, City, maybe the games don't look too tough, but especially Liverpool has a really difficult schedule, I would say. And that mixed with some tough fixtures also now for the Premier League, for example, with Arsenal away in game week 9. That will be interesting to see how Liverpool will deal with that. And yeah, for Arsenal, as you said, I think the next game is still quite good against Bournemouth, but then they have Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea away. So that's 3, yeah, you could say tougher
Mm-hmm.
fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
So that will also be, I think, interesting from an FPL perspective because everyone who has 3 Arsenal, it's quite likely that we will sell 1 or 2 of them for that period and then probably buy them back. So I think we will probably see some movement in the different teams.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say, yeah, Man United. Wow, what's to say about that, right? Great fixtures, but I think not many people dare to go there because they've just been struggling. But yeah, just a team to keep an eye on because you never know. I mean, Rashford has been looking good at times, so that could be an option. The defense has been keeping some clean sheets. So we have some options there as well. So definitely, we shouldn't ignore Man United, especially towards game
Yep.
week 11 and onwards, as you said. And for the rest, yeah, just interesting to see Fulham and Brentford and Nottingham also here in the top half of the table, I would say. So that's just, when you look at which players to add next to your premiums, then probably these are the teams you could look at. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, we looked at the fixture ticker. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the next stop and the next data to look at is the optimal team.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see how it looks like.
Yeah, so I'm on wildcard as I mentioned, so
Yeah.
I tried to look at it, but to be completely honest, I only looked at the optimal teams this morning. I was mostly following price changes, so trying to keep my
Okay.
team value intact. But other than that, I think I was just waiting to hear more about players' availability. But if you just put the FBI reviews data to the linear solver and then set no transfer, you get this team. You get Kelleher in the goal, Davis, Alexander Arnold, Pedro Porro in defense,
Mhm.
Mbomo, Palmer, Eze, Salah, and Bruno Fernandes in midfield, Solanke and Calvert-Lewin in forward. But it also has a
Okay.
bench where the players actually play during the horizon.
Ah,
So it has Flecken as the bench goalkeeper, and he plays actually most of these next 8 game week fixtures. We have Dunk, Anderson, and Joe Pedro. Like his availability is low at the beginning of the horizon, but then after 5th game week, I think he plays. So as you see, there's like you spread the fun quite a bit, and then you don't have Haaland in this team. So I think if you just use a no transfer option, then like it looks at the horizon as a whole, and
yeah.
then it doesn't focus on the individual, peaks. That's why you don't see actually the Haaland. I mean, if you have Haaland, obviously the team changes a bit. I will also talk about it.
Yeah, of
But
course.
before
Yeah.
I do that, do you have any comments on this team?
No, I think it's good that you or that the solver includes Calorar, because that's
Mm-hmm.
something indeed we should consider. Allison will be out for a
Yep.
while, so Calorar is of course a cheap option to get to buy yourself into the Liverpool defense. Well, you could say without Allison they are weaker, but on the other hand, the Liverpool defense so far has been really reliable. So I think indeed some people will consider to go there, especially if you, like in this case, you have a playing second goalkeeper. So even if Allison comes back, then Flack in this team can come in. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, the two Brighton guys on the bench, I think that's also good. Something we all need to keep an eye on, because the Brighton fixtures will improve.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, they face Liverpool and City, but then after that it gets much better. So I think that's also something to keep in mind.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So if we force Holland in, because I mean that's probably what I will do. I mean, not I'm not gonna force Holland just because I want to have him for sure, but it makes more sense. I will explain why in a second. If I do it, then the goalkeeper changed to Muric and Flecken. In defense, we again have Davis, Pedro Porro, but instead of Alexander Arnold, it has Udogi. So,
Okay.
to be able to afford Haaland, actually, it
Yeah.
drops
Yeah.
Alexander Arnold. Midfield is the same, and then in the forward, we have Solanke and Haaland now. And the rest of the bench players are the same. So, yeah, some minor modification to fit Haaland in. This is with actually the 12th game week and with no transfers still. But if I allow transfers and solve for 12 game weeks, the team I get is a little bit different. So we get Ederson in the goal, Davis, Alexander Arnold, Pedro Porro in defense again, Mbamo as a Bruno Fernandes, Gordon in midfield, and in forward I have Solanke, Calvert-Lewin, and Haaland. Then in game week 10, it sells Rogers for Salah, Gordon for Son, and Haaland for Joe Pedro. So
Hmm.
essentially, it keeps Haaland for the next 2 game weeks against Wolves and Southampton, where he's the optimal captain across all players. and
Yeah.
then it switches so that it is able to captain Salah against Brighton, but more importantly, it captains Son against Ipswich in game week 11, and
Yeah.
then against Fulham in game week 13, and his projections are also good otherwise. So I think so. The main issue here is model really wants to have Son by around game
Yeah.
week 10 or 11. And then the question is, like, do you start with him or do you again like buy him later? If you are going to buy him later, then like do you start with Haaland? Because obviously you need this switch, but you are also
Yeah.
committing to making 3 transfers here.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, I don't know, team dependent. I mean, if you don't have free transfers, this will be tough. But if you are wildcarding with enough free transfers, like 4 or 5, this is just very easy to do.
Yeah.
I think this is like one case where the 5 free transfers is actually
Yeah.
making a huge difference between teams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
that's what
something that's also interesting, what I just realized, is that none of the teams have Arsenal players. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's quite a big decision, I would say, because you know.
I mean, their fixtures are pretty
Yeah, no, that's
tough,
true.
right? I
The
mean,
fixture are
Bournemouth
getting
now, but
tougher, but still, we kept saying that the Arsenal defense is probably the best defense in the league, and yeah, we've seen Saka doing really well, also Havertz. But indeed, I mean, the fixtures, as I said, after Bournemouth, they will face a few difficult ones.
so yeah, I in game week 12 when they play against Nottingham Forest, their defense point average is the highest, like compared to other teams. And also in game week 13, I think it is the highest
Yeah,
or one of the highest. So I'm
yeah,
sure by when we come to game week 12, like 5 weeks from now,
yeah,
it will start bringing them back. But yeah,
right,
I think it doesn't see any reason to keep them
yeah,
until then. I mean, if you're
okay,
wildcarding, obviously, yeah.
yeah,
If you already have, I mean, obviously keep it, like you don't need to sell them. This game week, Bournemouth is not a bad game,
no,
but
yeah,
then yeah, Liverpool, Newcastle, and
yeah,
Chelsea might
I'll
be a
see.
little bit difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
hmm
good.
One more thing about wildcard very quickly. I
Yeah,
actually asked in Discord if anyone has any sensitivity analysis results for wildcard, and Farhan 1989, a member in our Discord server, he has these results with 80% FPL review projections and 20% market odds projections. And if you do it, again, sensitivity analysis is where you perturb the numbers and then solve for optimality repeatedly to see how often a player appears in the optimal lineup.
mm,
So I will go over only the top players here. So 95% of the time it picks Flecken as a goalkeeper
okay,
in the squad.
wow,
So he
yeah,
is more or less locked for that purpose. Among defenders, there's one player who's 100% selected every time out of these 278 tries, and that's Pedro Porro. And Dunk is selected 93% of the time. Even though he doesn't start in the first game week, he's always on the bench.
yeah,
And Davis is selected 68% of the time. The rest is a little bit mixed, but these three appear quite often.
mm,
Among midfielders, we have Mbomo, 99%, so he's a lock also for my team. And
yeah,
then Son is selected 82% of the time. So that's what I was
mhm,
saying about whether like you can either start with him or maybe try to get him later.
yeah,
Bruno Fernandes is selected 68% of the time, and these are the top 3 midfielder options. Among forwards, it always picks Haaland, almost always 99% of the time. Solanke 97% of the time, and the rest of the forwards are a little bit much lower. For example, Calvert-Lewin is 32%, and others are even less. So
yeah,
yeah, should give a rough idea about which players are actually always there, and then which
right.
players are kind of like replaceable. I am also closer to having Haaland in my team, and we were talking about it. I think you mentioned that Andy Martin is also finally buying him, right?
I saw it on Twitter. Yeah, that's big news. The big news of today. Yeah,
Yeah,
and Andy Martin getting Haaland.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this is good data, and I'm quite happy as a Pedro Porro owner that he's still there. because
Mm-hmm.
there's some debate about it as well. He's at 5.5 million, so yeah, it's a bit of a premium, let's say, defender. And there were some discussions about whether he's still as appealing as last season. He looks maybe a little less attacking,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think he's still the best option in the Spurs defense if you want to bet on attacking returns. So yeah, I'll keep him. But in general, also a Spurs look. The model is heavily interested, let's say, in Spurs players, because with
Yeah.
Porro and Son and Solanke, you basically have three key Spurs players then in your team.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean their fixtures are not that bad. I mean West Ham
No.
this week and then Ipswich in game week 11 are pretty good. They have a
Yeah.
City game in between, but if you can bench them, and that's why I think model is trying to pick a stronger bench, might be the reason. Because
Yeah.
right after that you have Fulham, which is like offensively a good fixture. So
Yeah. 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 I'm just looking at it. Yeah. Because yeah, it's also interesting, right? Like we talk about Spurs, that they play really attractive football, but then also, yeah, they lose quite some games, right? So it's a interesting discussion. Like people are really excited about the Ange and the type of football, but then Man United, they just have a few points less, and everybody is so negative about it. So it's kind of
that's
a
true.
different perception, right? But I
Yeah,
think like with Spurs, you see that there is an intention in the way they want to play, and it's attacking football. So I think that's why everybody appreciates it.
yeah,
And with United, yeah, they just look a bit lost. So then it's of course a different story.
yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah, I
okay,
like as a
interesting
fan,
data.
I also enjoy Spurs'
Yeah,
attacking
no,
football.
definitely.
Creates
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
opportunities to score for FPL
Yeah,
points.
like last game week, right? It was Brighton Spurs, and I think everybody was already excited about it a few days before the game. Like, oh, this will be a good game, and it
Mm-hmm.
was. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Whereas United Villa was, let's say, the worst game of the weekend. Yeah. Yeah.
true.
But I don't know if you noticed. I'm wearing a United shirt, so I was
Wow.
thinking
Okay.
the
Okay.
fixtures improve. We
Mm-hmm.
uh we shouldn't forget about them. No.
Okay. Okay. So, are you thinking maybe Rashford down the line, or maybe a defender?
Yeah, not yet. But there were a few games in which he looked quite good, but I think it's still not stable enough for me to bet on them.
Mm-hmm.
If I would go for someone in United, I would be either Onana in goal or maybe a defender like Dalot or Mazraoui. But currently, no intention. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe funny story about the shirt. I bought it a few weeks ago, and I ordered a City shirt and a United shirt at the same time. I was thinking like that probably doesn't happen too often that somebody orders those two shirts at the same time. It's a confused fan, I guess. Yeah.
Or you
Anyway,
really
all right,
like
great data.
Manchester City
Yeah,
as
yeah,
a city.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's look at the captaincy chart as a final data point for the next game week.
Captaincy is more or less in Holland's favor. 7.9 average EV for this game against Wolves away,
Yeah,
but still he's ahead because Liverpool is playing against Chelsea. Even though at home, Salah has 7.08 EV average across all the models. He's only optimal in fantasy football hubs model. I mean, he's ahead of Haaland, but not with a big margin. I think it is less than 2%. In all other models, Haaland is the top option. And then we have Palmer in the third place if you are looking for a spicy pick.
hmm.
But I mean, he's playing against Liverpool,
Yeah,
5.17. So he's also like quite behind Haaland and Salah in that
yeah,
sense. Um, and then we have Solanke playing against West Ham at home, 5.1. And then Madison at the fifth place, 5.06. So he's very close.
yeah,
Interesting enough, I also see Bruno Fernandes in some of the models. I mean, in Fantasy Football Scouts model, he's fourth best option. FPL review, he's again fourth best option. Same as Mikael Tokvam. So
yeah.
just saying.
Yeah, no, they play against Brentford, and defensively, Brentford hasn't been looking too good. So
Hmm.
I see many teams with Flecken in goal, and also again in the optimal team. But yeah, to be honest, Brentford haven't been looking that good defensively.
Hmm.
But at the same time, Bruno also hasn't been looking good. So I mean, if you have him, of course you should keep him. But I wouldn't go there at the moment, not yet, at least until we get
Hmm.
some proof that his form is improving. But it's quite interesting. I think that the Salah projected score is quite high, I would say, in the game against Chelsea. Yeah, Liverpool plays at home, of course, but still, probably not an easy game.
Yeah.
But it will be a nice one on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like most models are not rating Chelsea that high defensively. I mean,
No.
I'm just checking at the chart and our
Yeah.
fixture ticker. I mean, against Liverpool, it looks quite low. The defense point averages.
Yeah.
Same against Manchester United, it is under 3 points. Against
Okay.
Arsenal, 2.8. I think in general, most models think the Chelsea defense is pretty bad. I
Yeah.
mean, which is funny because I feel, if I remember correctly, we were talking about Chelsea defense last season at one point, and then trying to have
Yeah, at
triple
one
Chelsea
point.
defenders or something. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I had two at one point, but that didn't really work. No.
yeah, true.
I think so far this season, the Chelsea attack has been impressive, right? Especially also
Yes.
with Sancho in the team and
Yeah.
Palmer again doing well, even Jackson also. So yeah, they look really attacking and very dangerous. Yeah,
Yeah, they might be the team with the biggest difference between their defense average points and offense average points. There's a
maybe.
big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wow. Great. We covered a lot. I think it's very helpful for anyone on wildcard. But again,
Hmm.
as I always say, also for other people for considering which transfers to make. I think we gave you a lot of things to look at and to consider. And there's also, of course, also the option to do nothing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, that's what I always remember from the FPL general. Option one is to do nothing. And at the moment, I'm planning to do nothing. I'm planning
I
to
see.
save a transfer. The team still looks quite good, but let's see. We'll also have to, of course, wait for the news from the press conferences. Like
Yeah.
Saka left the England team with some kind of injury, so that yeah, we probably won't get news, but and we should at least pay attention, see if there's
Hmm.
anything being shared there.
Yep, yep, yep.
All right, let's take a look at the mini league to close today's episode. First of all, we have 516 teams in it, so it keeps going up. And as mentioned, we'll close it at the end of the month. So if you still want to join, you need to hurry. The code is 9GXNDK, so 9GXNDK. And looking at the top three, we can see a few new names in it. Number one is Abhinav C with his team Taken Quickly Origi, and he had a game week score of 77 points and has 538 points in total, making him currently the number 414 in the world. So Abhinav is doing well. And then number two is Lyle Mosley with his team Don't Panic on 518 points. So that's a 20 points gap with the number one. Lyle was our number one last time, but he had a lower game week score this week with just 59 points.
Hmm.
And then number three, just 4 points behind Lyle, we have Ray Sawyer with his team De Bruyne Identity. And Ray had a really good game week score of 83 points. So that made him now the number three in our league. And yeah, good luck, everyone. Keep it up. And that's it for today. So, yeah, you can subscribe to the podcast so you'll get notified when the next episode is out. And you can also follow us on X. For Sertalp, it's at Sertalp Bilal. And for me, it's at BelfiBB. And we have a separate account for the pod, which is at FPL Optimized. And as we mentioned before, there's also a website called fploptimized.com where you can find a lot of charts and data and tools to help you with your decision making. And last point for the people who are listening to the podcast, you can also find us on YouTube. Look for FPL Optimized. And if you're there, please leave a like or hit the subscribe button.
Before I close the episode, I just want to mention that we will have our analytics meetup in London on November 23rd, Saturday at 12 p.m. at the Thirsty Bear. So we made reservations, and we will be happy to see our listeners and also anyone who's interested in FPL analytics and want to meet with us. And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.